Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and it's time for another Breakfast with Blaha, and today I'm having watermelon with some potassium salt added. And I'm sure I'll invariably have someone eventually say in the comments, hey Jason, you should totally flavor your watermelon by adding some table sugar to it. That's what I like to do. And it's like, okay, enjoy your diabetes. How about I just eat the watermelon the way I like it? Right? There we go. Let's talk about bench pressing though. I see this a lot online. One of the things that I see frequently in some training groups and stuff and coaching groups I'm in on social media is you'll see noobs come to these groups who don't understand strength training or lifting, and you'll see someone arching, and invariably they'll say, oh, you shouldn't be arching. It's bad for your back. It's cheating, all these other things. And here's what's ludicrous about that. Most of your top coaches and experts in physiology all agree that you should be arching. You should be arching. And again, when we're discussing things like cheating or we're discussing shoulder health or health or anything else, these are people who clearly don't understand these things. All right, as far as low back, this has again been noted by experts, physical therapists, other people. Actually, if you guys do a search, because I won't remember by the time this video is up, Chad Wesley Smith at Juggernaut Training did a video on this quite a few years ago, because I think he was dealing with issues with Marissa and who I believe is now his girlfriend, who he coached, of guys coming and telling her, oh, you need to quit arching like that, you're going to hurt your back. And you see that from dudes a lot when you see women bitching. I get that in the comments with Emma sometimes, my client Emma. Guys will come in with, oh, it's not the right way, you're going to hurt your back. Well, first of all, if your back is cramping or hurt, your back is out of shape, you need to get your back into shape. It should be perfectly fine. If you build up to a range of motion on an arch gradually, right, you take your time building it up, it shouldn't be putting real strain on your low back. Yes, there's going to be fatigue, but everything we do fatigues our low back. Squatting, deadlifting, everything else. Get your low back health, strength, and work capacity on point. Get your low back strong, first of all. I mean, that's a sign already. That's a problem. Like if you're getting pain in your low back just from arching on the bench, your low back is out of shape. I mean, this is a sign that you have a problem you need to correct. But as far as injury risk, there's none. And again, if you go even with Chad's video, he had a PhD in physical therapy come in and say, yeah, there's no risk here. There's no risk here. This is perfectly safe. He had Dr. Mike Israetel come in and say the same thing. Same thing was brought up with shoulders. All right, arching is a correct way to protect your shoulders when you bench. That arch creates a slight decline. It changes the stress and the internal rotation on the shoulder. It's safer. Just like benching lower on the chest is safer instead of up above the nipples. An arch tucked a bit below the nipple line is the safest way to bench for your shoulders. It puts them in the most favorable position to put, the least negative stress on the joint. It'll allow you to bench safer. Right? This is the correct way to bench. Again, shoulder issues. How many guys out here talk about they hurt their shoulder benching? And they weren't elite benchers. Okay, I get it. You hurt your shoulder benching 500 pounds. But you hurt your shoulder benching 225? Maybe you were flat back and rolling your shoulders forward and didn't build up the posterior side of your torso. You didn't build up your upper back and rear delts, and you didn't arch. It's all this flat back benching. Like, there's a problem, and that could apply to your dumbbell stuff too, couldn't it? Right, you want a little bit of an arch on your dumbbells also. Same thing. puts your shoulders at a more protected angle. And again, this is what these experts are saying. These were people with PhDs in here saying, yeah, it's better for your shoulder joints. So it's better for the shoulder joint. In other words, it's safer, it's healthier. Now, people will say, but, we're losing range of motion. It doesn't seem to matter in this case. In other words, unless it's extreme, and when you start talking about the extreme arches you see, with the ultra-wide grip in competition that only a tiny number of people can do, that's different. But if they're doing it, that's only because of the arch component. If they're cutting that range of motion down due to the width, well, that's still putting a lot of range of motion on the joint. Okay. Usually short arm, smaller frame people with really flexible backs pull that off in competition. But it's allowed within the rules. It's not cheating. What do I mean there? They have a leverage advantage. Their skeleton is slightly different. They have a more flexible back, and they have shorter arms that allows these people to cut their range of motion way down on the bench. That's not cheating. That would be like saying that a basketball player who's taller than the others is cheating because he doesn't have to jump as high to dunk the basketball. No, he has an advantage. That's how sports work. See, sports are not a level playing field. Genetics, bone structure, ability, a lot of inherent abilities that you have that you didn't necessarily train for can give you an advantage in sports. Guess what? Some people can jump higher. Some people are taller. Some people have longer and shorter limbs. Some people can run faster just naturally. That's not cheating. These are people who have a bone structure advantage that lets them shorten the range of motion within the confines of the rules. It's not cheating. And they're the exception. They're rare. There aren't many of them. But you come back over to the actual muscle activation. It turns out that if arching is used to cut a couple inches out of the range of motion, when EMGs are used, there's no loss of pectoral activation. It seems to be the same, as long as rate of perceived exertion is kept consistent. In other words, if the range of motion on that is cut by a couple inches, but you're able to lift slightly more weight, as long as, again, the RPE is similar, what happens? The muscle activation seems to stay the same on the bench press. So there's no downside here. The only downside becomes the extreme arches as used in competition. And you know what? A lot of those lifters can just arch less when they want to do their hypertrophy training to build the muscles up. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.